Well, it's the moment we've been waiting for here tonight. We get underway with round one of the heat races in the pro category. Be lining up with 3 of the top 5 in the championship standings for heat number 8. Richard Mason, currently 4th in the championship standings on the number 98 bike, is the lone rider here off the front row. Off the middle row, watch out for Alan Birtwistle and Gary Birtwistle. The brothers seem to draw one another quite often, and certainly that's been the way things have panned out in 2017. They line up in direct conflict here off the middle row. Those are the 3 main riders to watch. Also to watch out for in terms of the remainder of the lineup. Mike Hill, he's had plenty of track time here tonight, hasn't he? Racing, it seems like, almost every race. Mike Hill lines up off the middle row, sandwiched between Alan and Gary Birtwistle there. And then off the back row, we've got Vince Sam Hurst lining up. And also the number 171 of Glyn Pocklington. Great to see him back in the championship. A former regular, of course, with us in terms of the DTRA. He has made regular final appearances in the past. Glyn Pocklington actually finished as high as 2nd here back in 2010. Here we go then, underway with Heat 8. Fast start, predictably, from Alan Birtwistle. The championship leader is well away, but it's Richard Mason who hits the front. He was the only rider off the front row of the grid and duly leads the way. So in terms of the battle for top spot in this one, it's Richard Mason versus Alan Birtwistle. Birtwistle seems to have the speed, runs Mason wide off turn 4. Birtwistle hits the front. From here you expect him to disappear away. There are battles further down the order. Gary Birtwistle is next in line to try and pass Richard Mason for 2nd, but he locks it up off turn 2. Close race for 4th position as well. Sam Hurst is trying to come through. Good race going on as Hurst gets the inside run here and comes through for 4th position coming off turn number 4. So Sam Hurst making it through. Now Glyn Pocklington as well, down the inside into turn 1. That's for 5th position. So the top 3 have broken away. That race looks settled. And Sam Hurst versus Glyn Pocklington is the closest battle out on track at the moment. And that is for positions 4 and 5. Gary Birtwistle tried to reel in Richard Mason early on, but he hasn't been able to do too much about him. And both Mason and Gary Birtwistle are riders who've been making progress in the championship standings in 2017. Neither had a particularly good first round, but both appeared on the podium last time out at round number 4. So in fact, the top 3 in this race at the moment were all podium finishers last time out at Greenfield TT. We're back on ovals here tonight, but it just goes to show that it's skill on a bike rather than the type of circuit that will dictate whether the cream rises to the top. And here we are with the top 3 last time out at round 4, leading the way in heat number 8 into the final lap. Alan Birtwistle from Richard Mason, from Gary Birtwistle in 3rd. Good race further back with Vince Hurst challenging now and trying to come through for what is 6th position. In fact, Vince Hurst has come through down the back straight as they go side by side for 6th place. Checkered flag waves, it's Alan Birtwistle, gets off to the best possible start with the 15 heat points. 12 going the way of Richard Mason. 3rd over the line, Gary Birtwistle for 10. Sam Hurst over the line for 9 race points. Great to see Glyn Pocklington back with the DTRA. He scores 8 points in his first outing. Vince Hurst comes through behind him for 7 race points, ahead of Kai Ford, who takes 6, and the last of the finishers behind him, I think Derek Brindley there, a last-minute substitute, and his first appearance of the season in the pro class, found it going a little bit tough in his opening rides. Well, now we're out onto the circuit for race number 9, which is the last of the round 1 heats, and this one brings us neatly into the first grading break of the night. The riders just doing their practice starts there on the back straight, and then we'll be up to the start line for this one, heat number 9. Watch out for the 5-time champion, Aidan Collins, who will be lining up off the front row. Alongside him, Matt Late and Daniel Kafka, the middle row. Watch out for Tom Neve. Great to see him back in the championship. The winner here in 2014 and 2015. So twice a winner here at Kings Lynn. And brother Tim Neve has also been on the podium in the past. So we've already seen, those of you watching live on Facebook here tonight, how Tom Neve won at his last appearance here at Kings Lynn. Let's see if he can do the same despite coming in cold in terms of the 2017 season, his first appearance of the campaign. Great start from Toby Hales, firing through on the number 20, straight up to second place. Tom Neve comes around the outside of him now to take P2 away. Aidan Collins leads, but he bobbles coming off turn 2, and Neve thunders down the inside into turn 3 to take the race lead away. Don't worry, he hasn't raced the first half of the season, but he's back in front, back on top, and Toby Hales is trying to take advantage to bomb down the inside of Collins as well. He made one mistake there, the former champion, just off turn 2 on the opening lap. Tom Neve was straight through, and Toby Hales is trying to make the pain even worse. Tom Neve out in front then, Aidan Collins in second position. The front three have broken well clear. This is a race that's surely going to go right the way to the checkered flag. Good riding further back from Daniel Kafka, who sits in fourth position. Peter Most in fifth, and side by side for sixth place, but it's the top three who are still dicing for position here. Toby Hales looking for a way through on the tail of Aidan Collins. Things are starting to settle down now. Collins loves to do his scoring from the start, making fast starts and disappearing off into the distance. Well, it's a stacked field here tonight, and he hasn't been able to do that in heat number 9. Collins, it's very rarely that he is beaten when he starts off a front row grid slot. He might not be beaten here because he's gained brilliantly there coming off turn 4. Tom Neve had to shut the door hard going into turn 1. That's running wide coming off turn 2. Collins alongside once again, but not quite. Has to back out of it down the back straight as Tom Neve swerves across the front of him. They're in towards the final lap. Tom Neve, if he holds the inside line, will make things difficult for Aidan Collins here. There's never been much more than a bike length between them in the entire duration of this one. Heat number 9 sets us up quite nicely for the remainder of today's event. It's Tom Neve still with a bike's length advantage over Aidan Collins as they come into turns 3 and 4 for the final time, and it's Tom Neve who wins heat number 9 to mark his return to the DTRA UK Nationals with a race victory. Aidan Collins second over the line and third going the way of Toby Hales. Then a big gap before Peter Most comes over the line in fourth, ahead of Daniel Kafka. I think dropped 2 positions in the end there, having been overtaken by Peter Most earlier in the race. Further riders coming through, but great racing up front really caught the attention in that one. Heat number 9 with with Aidan Collins rather, fighting Toby Hales quite brilliantly, and Tom Neve making his first appearance of the season in this 2017 Maxxis DTRA UK Flattrack Nationals, going on to get the better of Aidan Collins, and not even off the same row. He came through from the middle row of the grid to take the checkered flag there in heat 9. So as we do build up towards the Pro Class second round of heats then, we have an opportunity to take a look at the current standings, and Alan Birtwistle and Tom Neve lead the way after their round 1 heat wins. Behind them, Richard Mason and Aidan Collins on 12 points apiece. Collins beaten by Tom Neve first time out. Mason had a good ride. Gary Birtwistle and Toby Hales sit on 10 points apiece, third position in their opening outings. Peter Most did well to come through and lead the second group really in his ride. He sits tied on 9 points with Sam Hurst. Glyn Pocklington on his return to the championship from the back row of the grid picked up 8. And George Pickering, who's been out injured since the opening round of the campaign, comes back with a 5th place finish first time out and 8 race points. Vince Hurst and Daniel Kafka on 7 points apiece. Kai Fort and Leah Toklove on 6. Mike Hill and Richard Roden on 5. Derek Brindley and Matt Late 4 points apiece from their opening round rides. Again, the red flags are still out trying to get the riders into line and stopped, ready for us to get underway with this one. Heat number 17, the first of the round 2 heat races in the pro category. George Pickering wants the outside of that front row, so a little bit of confusion there has crept in about the front row. Glyn Pocklington goes on the inside of him on that front row. Richard Roden off the inside of the middle row. Daniel Kafka, Derek Brindley and Sam Hurst on that middle row. And then the back row, Richard Mason, Tom Neve and Matt Late. So I did say that Mike Hill was in position erroneously, and looking down at the programme, that's because Mike Hill isn't actually due out in this one. He's due out off the outside of the front row in heat 18. He's up to line on the outside of the front row for heat 17. So Mike Hill needs to be removed from the front row of the grid. So a little bit of confusion there for Mike Hill. And to be fair to Mike, he is racing in more than one class today. He's racing in the Thunderbike category as well. So understandable that he gets a little bit confused. But he'll be out next time out. No worries about that in heat 18. Here we go then for the first of the round 2 heat races in the pro class. Glyn Pocklington, Peter Most and George Pickering the front row. Let's see whether Richard Mason can make progress from further down the order. Boaster's made a good start, Pickering even better. Straight across the front of Boaster leading. Pickering in front, Boast in second. Sam Hurst challenging Boast around the outside, coming off turn 2. Boast stretches to try and hold on to the position. Hurst is through, around the outside into turn 3, and Boast has now got company around the outside from Jim Pocklington. Pocklington comes through for third, and Tom Neve is firing his way through from further down the order as well. He's going all the way around the outside of turn 2 to move through from 5th to 3rd, and now firing through to challenge for the race lead. That is an outstanding lap of flat track from Tom Neve, who leads it. George Pickering just will not believe that someone has just flown around the outside of him like that. George Pickering in second place, Sam Hurst in third. Fourth position, Glyn Pocklington, Peter Boast in fifth. He was second early on, losing his footing coming off turn 4, George Pickering. Sam Hurst was already right on his tail and comes through. Good ride there from Sam Hurst. He takes up the challenge in second place. Good luck chasing down Tom Neve. He is half a straight now in front of anyone else. Sam Hurst second, third is still with George Pickering. Glyn Pocklington seems to be gaining on Pickering, bearing in mind that Pickering hasn't raced since the opening round of the season at Rye House when he was a finalist. This is a return to the track for him. Was of course involved in supervising all of the action at Greenfield, his own circuit last time out. Set for a third place finish. This is a decent effort for the number 3 from the 2016 season, George Pickering. Glyn Pocklington still probing for a way through. This is another promising ride from Glyn Pocklington, but it is only going to be 4th position unless he can do something off the final turn. Tom Neve by the length of a straight, ahead of Sam Hurst in second. Third goes to George Pickering. Fourth, Glyn Pocklington. Fifth, Peter Boast. Sixth, Richard Mason. Seventh to Richard Roden. And the rest of the riders filtering through over the line. But some entertaining racing from Tom Neve. What a lap of flat track that was. All the way around the outside of turns 1 and 2 to make it from 5th to 3rd. And then right up to the race lead coming off turn 4. And then from there he just disappeared away as though he was racing a completely different bike to everyone else. Well, that isn't the case. He was just in another class in that one, Heat 17. Winner here in 2014 and 2015, Tom Neve. We've got all of the past winners here at Kings Lynn in Dirtquake lining up here tonight, and all of them have got off to strong starts. Peter Boast involved in the action in that last one out, the 2013 winner here at the Dirtquake weekend. Heat 18 is now out onto the circuit. Toby Hales goes off the inside of the front row alongside Leia Toklov, Kai Fort and Mike Hill. The middle row is with Vince Hurst, and the back row with the reigning champion and brother as well, Gary Birtwistle. So Alan Birtwistle on the inside of the front row and Gary Birtwistle on the outside of that back row rather. So here we go, lining up for Heat 18. The front row is certainly the busiest, only one rider off the middle row and 2 off the back row. Toby Hales will be looking to make a fast start off the inside of that front row. Currently 3rd in the championship standings. Championship leader off the back. Hales makes a good start. Mike Hill, he was so eager to be out there for this race. He's up in 2nd position. Alan Birtwistle is trying to find his way through. He's down in 5th. And tries to just force himself down the inside into turn 3, and that was almost chaos because the 2 riders ahead of him wanted the inside as well, but Whistle just pushed his way through and comes through for 3rd. Now he's challenging Mike Hill. Hill holds the line well. This is enabling Toby Hales to disappear out in front. Birtwistle is alongside this time. He's going to do the same move from behind, just thunders much harder into turn number 3. Hill's moved out of the way. That enables Gary Birtwistle to get the cutback off turn 4 and come through for 3rd position. So Mike Hill has lost 2 positions on that last lap. Toklov tucked in behind there in 5th position. And 6th and 7th also very much part of the group with Vince Hurst at the tail of that pack. Riders in an absolute train further down the order, but up front, Alan Birtwistle just trying to gain in some ground on Toby Hales. He's certainly made up some, but not a significant amount, and I can't see him getting there. Top 3 has settled down. Mike Hill in the race for 4th. Gets run very, very wide around the top turn, and Hill is going to go to the back here. Vince Hurst is challenging through on the inside, and Mike Hill, poor old Mike Hill, has ended up losing 3 positions on that last lap just by getting moved onto the wrong part of the track at the wrong time. And unfortunately he won't be getting any points for turning up a race early. He's out at the back in this one. Frustration for him. Alan Birtwistle has continued to reel in Toby Hales up front, but not fast enough. He's not going to get there in time because the checkered flag is being prepared, and the winner of this one, heat number 18, is going to be Toby Hales. Hales takes the checkered flag, Alan Birtwistle in second. Third is with Gary Birtwistle, and Toglove, Fort, Hurst, and eventually Mike Hill coming over the line further down the order. Hill played his own part in that race, heat number 18, by enjoying a battle with the riders up ahead, but eventually slipping backwards through the order and dropping back to the tail of the field in heat 18. Now moving on and back to the 2017 Maxxis DTRA UK Flattrack Nationals in the Pro class. And in terms of heat points, well, it's been a strong start for all of the championship favourites. Alan Birtwistle, Aidan Collins, Richard Mason. We have seen a couple of surprises so far, but it's Tom Neve who's out in front, a familiar name. If you've been following all of the coverage online in 2017, then you might not necessarily know too much about Tom Neve, but he returns to the championship here today and has so far been unbeaten. The lineup then for this one, heat number 26. Gary Birtwistle off the inside of the front row. The late replacement Derek Brindley replacing James Rispoli is alongside him. Sam Hurst and Alan Birtwistle complete the front row. On the middle row we've got Glyn Pocklington and Aidan Collins. Alongside Collins, the 98 Richard Mason, currently fourth in the championship standings, and the number 100 of Matt Light. The back row then, Toby Hales, the number 20, is the rider to watch. Mike Hill off the outside of that back row with Daniel Kafka between them. Heat 26 gets underway. A poor start from Gary Birtwistle off the inside. Aidan Collins firing straight through. Around the outside, comes through for second position. He was aggressive on Richard Mason down into turn one. Then he swept around the outside of Sam Hurst to take up second place. So it's Alan Birtwistle who leads the way. This would move him provisionally top of the heat standings on 42 points. Aidan Collins sits second. Collins well back down the order after failing to make the start in heat number 17 and needs to pick up points to make it into the top 10. He came into the final round of heats 3 points behind the top 10. He should make it to automatic transfer to the final, but he could do with picking up a heat win to try and improve his seeding position. Things have not gone well for Aidan Collins since the first 2 rounds of the campaign, and dropping points in round 2 of the heats is not going to have helped his cause either. Alan Birtwistle, Aidan Collins, well clear now of Sam Hurst in third. 4th and 5th positions are Richard Mason and Gary Birtwistle. Behind them, Toby Hales, coming under some pressure now from Glyn Pocklington as Richard Mason runs wide on turn 4. Still a couple of bike lengths between first and second positions. Gary Birtwistle starting to gain now on Richard Mason. And as he does so, he's bringing Toby Hales with him. Glyn Pocklington, who hasn't had too much experience of racing against Toby Hales, having only rarely taken part in DTRA events over the last couple of seasons, well, he's seeing a lot of the back wheel of Toby Hales at the moment. Around the final turns for the final time then, Alan Birtwistle will take his second heat victory of the day to move provisionally top of the heat point standings. Aidan Collins with his second runner-up position of the day. Behind them it's Sam Hurst with an excellent third position. He may well get onto the front row of the grid for the final here today. That's another great ride for him after a second place finish last time out in heat number 17. And Toby Hales struggling further down the order, couldn't gain on Richard Mason, and in turn Glyn Pocklington was unable to gain on him. So the positions settled down pretty quickly in that one, heat number 26. It's not quite the frantic action that we've seen from the pro class so far, and maybe that's because we have the pre-race favourite Alan Birtwistle off the front row and Aidan Collins swiftly moving across the front of Richard Mason down into turn 1 and then around the outside to take up second place on the opening lap. Now on to heat 27 as we take a look at the heat point standings after round 2, and Tom Neve it was who sat atop the heat point standings on 30. Now bear in mind that he has now been overhauled by Alan Birtwistle, who picked up the 15 points last time out in heat 26. Birtwistle sits on 42. Aidan Collins, by picking up the 12 points there, has moved on to 24. We're out onto the circuit for heat 27. Tom Neve, who was the points leader, as you just saw there at the end of round number 2, goes off the inside of the front row. If he picks up a win, which you must say is quite likely from his front row grid slot here, he will be the first seed to the final. And who would bet against him taking a 3rd Dirtquake victory? He'd be the first rider ever to do so. Richard Roden alongside him, and Vince Hurst on the outside of the front row. The middle row with George Pickering and Peter Most, and the back row with Kai Fortin and Leo Tokluv as we get underway. Neve didn't make a fantastic start, but he's got the inside line, so he's got the whole shot. Peter Most comes around the outside line, challenging for 4th position. 2nd, 3rd, 4th and 5th, all in a group together. 4 riders going down into turn 3. Most around the outside, determined. George Pickering holds the inside. Most seems the faster of the 2 of them. But Pickering is moving to block, and Boast is getting stranded on the outside line. Probably needs to cut back and take advantage of Pickering's inside lunge, because here he comes. George Pickering barreling through down the inside to try and take 2nd place off Richard Roden, and has made that move stick now. So Pickering through to 2nd place. Can Boast follow him through? Peter Boast inside the top 10 as things stand, but remember Aidan Collins has come through from further down the order and picked up big points. Boast could do with as many as possible from this race to give himself a fighting chance of at least a middle row grid slot for the final, if not a front row. Richard Roden it is, holding 3rd place at the moment. That's where the race is, 3rd and 4th positions. Richard Roden versus Peter Boast. Tom Neve is away and gone, forget about him. It's going to be 3 rides and 3 wins, barring mechanicals. George Pickering 2nd place, a comfortable 2nd place as well, since dispatching Boast in the early part of the race. Peter Boast is faster than Richard Roden, but can't find a way through. Here he goes again off turn 2. Roden is covering the line well. Boast tries to run wider into turn 3. He's going to square it off. It's a classic move. Great move from Peter Boast to come through for 3rd place. He had to size that up. He spent a good couple of laps there weighing up his options, and then cut superbly wide into turn 3 before diving up the inside off turn 4, and it's going to be Peter Most to take 3rd position, and Vince Hurst further down the order under pressure on the final turn, locks to the inside, just about holds on ahead of Leo Tokluv and Kai Ford to round out the finishers there. Well, another excellent ride from Tom Neve. That's largely what we expected. The former British number 3 finished 3rd in the 2014 championship, goes away to yet another victory. So your top seed going through to the grand final today will be Tom Neve on 45 points, ahead of Alan Birtwistle, who finishes on 42. And well, the mathematics will have to be done to work out the remainder of those seeding positions, and we'll give you those as soon as possible. The 6th staging of this DTRA event that coincides with the Dirtquake weekend. Round 5 of the 2017 DTRA Flattrack Championship. And as a reminder, it's 8 riders who are featuring, lining up here in the B final, which is the last chance qualifier. The top 2 from this one will go through to join the top 10 from the standings in today's grand final. So the lineup here featuring Leo Tokluv and Vince Hurst, Richard Roden on the outside. Derek Brindley seems happy to settle in on the inside of that front row. Mike Hill on the middle row in the number 35. Daniel Kafka on the inside and Matt Late on the outside. 7 riders lining up then for this Pro B final, the first of our 8-lap races here tonight. Brindley, Tokluv, Hurst and Roden on the front row. Only 2 of these 7 riders will transfer to the A final. Vince Hurst with his best start of the night hits the front. 2nd place with Richard Roden around the outside. Tokluv's in the pack, as is Kafka. Brindley further down the order. The number 25 at the moment in 3rd position, actually dropping back now to 4th place. Oh, and gets swamped by the field and goes to the back. So Derek Brindley, who was a last-minute introduction into the lineup to replace James Rispoli here tonight, looks set to bow out at this stage in his first appearance in the 2017 campaign. I should say first appearance in the pro class this season for Derek Brindley. He has raced previously in the vintage and looks like he's taking his opportunity to enjoy himself a bit at the back there with a big wheelie down the home straight. Mike Hill coming through against him. The top 2 are the only 2 who will transfer to the A final here tonight. At the moment, that 2nd place is closely contested. It's Hurst from Roden, from Tokluv in 3rd, Kafka in 4th, 5th Late. Tokluv around the outside, coming off turn 2, and she's gone down and right in the path of Daniel Kafka, who's gone down heavily at the end of the straight there. The race is going to have to be stopped there because Tokluv took a right battering and Kafka flew over Tokluv's bike coming to a heavy landing and separated from the machine. As you can see, a massive distance between Daniel Kafka, I think that is who went down, and the bike, which is separated and at the end of that Maxxis bannering, and Kafka's at the start of that bannering going in. Well, he's on the straight, the bike's into turn number 3. Great advantage, obviously, for us to be able to see those replay images as well as the live pictures here at the Adrian Flux Arena. And the riders now making their way back around towards the start line, where we will get underway for a second time of asking for this Pro B final. And obviously it is a line-out situation, which is a, well, effectively a staggered start from outside to in. Riders lining up directly behind the person they were behind at the time of the stoppage, but they will be staggered slightly inside the race leader at the time of the stoppage, who was Vince Hurst. Richard Roden, who unintentionally triggered all of that chaos, he lines up directly behind Hurst. Tokelav has an opportunity, by the looks of it, to take her part in the restaging here, but I'm hearing that Tokelav will actually be penalised as the cause of that stoppage and will therefore have to come off the very back. So effectively the penalty line. It does mean that we've got a slight delay here. So we're lining up now for the restaging of this Pro B final, the last chance qualifier. The red lights are on, and the reason for that is that Leah Tokelav has assumed her position 3rd on the grid, which admittedly is where she was at the time of the stoppage, but she has been penalised as the cause of that stoppage and will therefore go off the back of the grid for this one. So behind the number 25, Derek Brindley. Tokelav will be moving to the back as the cause of the stoppage. Effectively, it was her fall that necessitated the stoppage there, and so she will have to make a series of overtakes if she wants to get into the top 2. And bear in mind, she's lost 3 laps as well, because we are now down to the 5 remaining laps in this last chance qualifier. Richard Roden with a brilliant getaway from second. Matt Late's made a poor one. Derek Brindley down the inside challenging Mike Hill, who is in 4th place as it stands. Leah Tokelav moving through, 3 abreast. This time she backs off down the back straight. Richard Roden loses out to a thunderous move from the number 100, Matt Late. Roden cutting back to the inside, but it's Late through to 2nd place. Well, that was a real dive move, quite honestly, into turn 3, and from well back as well. Matt Late was fortunate that Richard Roden let him go through and tried the cutback, because if he'd tried to take the turn, then Late would have ridden right into the side of him. Tokelav is still at the back, so with time running out to make it through, it looks as though Vince Hurst and Matt Late will be transferring. Well, it's been a great day for Sam Hurst in the Pro class, and it looks like being another final appearance in 2017 for Vince Hurst, who made the final at each of the opening 2 rounds before non-scoring at Greenfield. And Vince Hurst out in front, ahead of Matt Late in 2nd. 2nd is the last of the transfer spots. Late goes for the outside. He doesn't need to make this pass. Going to the outside on Hurst, he risks being overtaken by Richard Roden, who sits in 3rd, but he's going for it anyway, around the outside line. 2nd place is enough to transfer, but he'll have a better seeding position. He'll be the only rider not having a starting position choice if he stays where he is, and he's under pressure from Richard Roden. It's tightening up for 2nd position here, and Roden's going to go for broke. One last dive around the outside. He's got his wheels in line. Oh, a brilliant last bend overtake from Richard Roden to seal a place in the final and dump out Matt Late. Well, that's why you have to give it 100% right to the flag, because you just never know when someone's going to make a big, bold move. That was absolutely outstanding from Richard Roden to seal his place in the final, along with Vince Hurst. Matt Late will score 3 championship points just behind Mike Hill and Derek Brindley. Also, the last race of the night here in Kings Lynn. And it sees Tom Neve first in line to select his starting position, returning to the championship, twice a winner of this event, of the Dirtquake event, and also the DTRA round on the oval. The winner in 2014, the winner in 2015. We've got the 2013 and 2016 winner, Alan Birtwistle, lining up directly on the inside of him. Sam Hurst, his best heat performance of the season so far, 4th position in the heats. He's lining up off the inside. So the front row will be Sam Hurst, Toby Hales, Alan Birtwistle and Tom Neve. George Pickering had the 5th choice. He's gone for the outside of the middle row. Gary Birtwistle hasn't been too strong during the heat stages here today, but consistent. He selects the inside of the middle row. Alongside the veterans, Richard Mason and Peter Most. Aidan Collins, it feels extremely strange to see him going off the back row. That DNS in his second ride means he only just qualified inside the top 10. Glyn Pocklington, Vince Hurst and Richard Roden completing the lineup. There we are then. The front row, Sam Hurst, Toby Hales, Alan Birtwistle, Tom Neve, Gary Birtwistle, Peter Most, Richard Mason, George Pickering, Richard Roden, Vince Hurst, Glyn Pocklington and Aidan Collins. Alan Birtwistle makes the start, the championship leader, and the winner of the last 2 rounds hits the front, and now we've got a race on our hands. Tom Neve, having been immaculate through the heat stages, 3 wins out of 3, is restricted to 2nd at the end of the opening lap. Trying to stretch himself down the inside of Alan Birtwistle, he's made the move. Birtwhistle's going to keep it wound on around the outside of turn 2, but Neve has the power down earlier. And it wouldn't surprise me if that settled the race lead here tonight. And if that is the case, this could well be the second wildcard rider of the season to make it onto the podium. Feels almost unnatural calling him a wildcard since he was a regular previously in the DTRA Championship. 2nd place is with Alan Birtwistle, 3rd is with Toby Hales, 4th Sam Hurst. Now, in terms of the championship, Aidan Collins is absolutely desperate to make up as many positions as possible and get as close to Alan Birtwistle as possible. He's had the 12 lap distance to make it up from the back row of the grid. Here he's challenging on the outside of Sam Hurst, who shuts the door cleanly but fairly. Collins goes all the way around the outside though on turns 1 and 2 to move up into 4th position. Now can he make it to the podium? On the podium in each of the opening 3 rounds. Greenfield weekend saw him slip out of the championship lead and 11 points down on Alan Birtwistle. He's going to drop even more than that unless he can make 2 passes here in the final. Aidan Collins going for 3rd position on the tail of Toby Hales. Separate battle further down the order involving Peter Most and Gary Birtwistle. But this is where our focus is in terms of the championship. Collins looking wide around turns 1 and 2. He's got speed. He cuts back off the 2nd bend. Toby Hales knows he's there, looks over his shoulder. Collins is going to try the inside line again coming off turn 4. Hales has now started to ride narrow. This is smart riding from the youngster. He knows that he's got to hold the inside line coming off the turns. Gary Birtwistle still trying to find a way past Peter Most. That's for 8th position further back down the field. The race ongoing for 3rd at the moment. The top 2 look settled. Tom Neve will be the first rider ever to take 3 wins in the DTRA segment of Dirtquake. If he can hold on out in front, still the race is for 3rd position between Toby Hales and Aidan Collins. Collins seems faster, but Hales is riding his line brilliantly. Collins goes for the cutback off turn 2. He's got to go for it. He knows he's got to go for it, but he isn't bold enough to send a move in from too far back. He doesn't want to wipe his rival out. He has prized a line coming off turn 4, but again, Hales has shut the door brilliantly going into turn 1. It doesn't give the inside run to Collins either, and that's the best run off turn 2 that Toby Hales has got all race. Has that settled 3rd position? It's going to be Tom Neve from Alan Birtwistle, barring any mechanical failures for the top 2, that's decided. Collins tries a big run around the outside of 1 and 2, cuts back off turn 2, the best run he's had all race, but he backs out of it. Toby Hales pulls across the front of him. Collins goes wide on turn 3. Hales has the inside line, and Toby Hales will deny the extra championship points to Aidan Collins, and in the process take his first podium finish of the 2017 season. Toby Hales closes in on Collins in the championship overall, and a disastrous round for the number 90 as he misses out on heat points in round number 2. Celebrations for Tom Neve, and celebrations on one wheel from Alan Birtwistle as well down the home straight. His customary celebration, in fact. Aidan Collins has recovered well. To be fair to Collins, from the back row of the grid to come through for 4th position is outstanding. But you just fancied he was faster than Toby Hales there, and Hales rode defensively, and very well he did it as well. Alan Birtwistle is denied a 3rd victory of the campaign, and it's the 2nd time that we've had a one-off entry. In this case, Tom Neve, a former DTRA regular, Johnny Lewis won at round 2. That upset the apple cart among the front runners in the championship as well. Alan Birtwistle won both events at Greenfield and beats Collins for a 3rd round in succession here today. And unless Aidan Collins starts winning with impressive regularity in the final 3 rounds of the campaign, 2 at Ammon Valley and the closing event at Eastbourne, then this championship is very much up for grabs for Alan Birtwistle.
Managed to get a good start in the final and went well. The heats was alright as well. I got a fin first. Got the starts good today.
It would have been nice to win, but we're happy with the points I got. I'm quite happy that my bike kept going actually. I had a misfire all day, coming and going. And right up till just before the final, I was chopping up the wiring loom and had my fingers crossed as the laps were going on. The bike's getting hotter, but yeah, I'm happy with that. It held itself together, and fair play to Tom. He was on it. Once I started seeing his lines he was taking, I started following him a bit and speeding up, and yeah, fair play.
Yeah, I've really missed flat tracking over the last year because I've not done any, so good to come back and get the hat trick here. I love this track. Yeah, so real good to top the night off.
Number 68, Tom Lynn.